بحب الاشياء التكنيكال فوت فيها انا قبل ما بلش البودكاست.
I love it.
تعرف؟
That's what makes you so good as well.
Yeah. Thank you. بس كمان بتعرف شو بتبلش يعني it's a soft start. عرفت كيف هيك انه بدل ما تفوت دغري هاي طارق.
How are you feeling today?
How are you feeling
But
today?
how are you really feeling?
Exactly. Oh my God. طارق صبوح كيفك؟
I'm good.
نحن we're friends كمان.
Yes.
يعني بنشتغل مع بعض and we're friends وحابب هيك استضيفك على البودكاست.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you. I've been your biggest fan from the very beginning, remember? And I told you like you have an incredible way of connecting with people, of having them tell their truth. وكم مرة غيرت رأيي عن حدا بس أنت جبته لنا عندك هون as guest, so I absolutely love it.
عن جد؟ غيرت رأيك عن أشخاص لكن بيطلع بالبودكاست الحلو فيه إنه لازم واحد يطلع يكون على طبيعته. فلما وانت انا شغلتي انه افتح له المجال يكون على طبيعته قد ما بقدر يعني قد ما it seems it's working يعني.
I love it. I really love it. It's the one way. That's why I stopped watching TV interviews or platforms. I go to podcasts because I think people tend to become more vulnerable and they really say things that are very insightful, very useful. So I love the platform, but you need to have an incredible host who can do that, because with you, you're interviewing people from all walks of life, all different professions. Some of them don't have necessarily the experience, in front of the camera or whatever. And some of them are celebrities or influencers who might not be comfortable to, remove that mask and connect on a human level. So that's a testimony to your actual skill.
Oh, thank you so much. بس كيف شايف where do you see هيدا الcontent is moving؟ يعني هلا أول ما بلشت فيه أنا كنت إجا by يعني هيك by luck أو by natural من بعد كورونا قلت I wanna connect with people, I wanna start something new. I can't sit at home, business is stopped يعني. فحبيت إنه أعمل بودكاست فإجا بالصدفة. بس هلا it's trending and it's going وهيدا. كيف شايفه أنت from your perspective? I really want to know كيف شايف أنت هيدا الcontent عم بيصير overused? Is it still is going to the right path?
It's definitely oversaturated. Everyone wants to have a podcast now. Everybody is starting up a podcast or is becoming part of a podcast. I think like all channels, all platforms, all things that become trendy, it gets oversaturated and then it levels itself out. I don't think as a tool it's going to disappear. I just think that you really have to be very, very, very good to maintain your audience and grow your audience as well. So that's how I see it.
لتقدر to stay consistent and to stay for long term. Yes, it is trending, but I still believe that why not? يعني why not? I think everyone should start a podcast. Everyone has something to say.
Everyone. The thing is, it's the subjects. It's like it could be scientific, it could be humane, it could be about mental health, it could be about really any subject can be opened and discussed, and that's why I love it.
Yes. والحلو فيها طارق انه it's different لأنه we used to vlog or go and talk about ourselves. So, but the format, هيدي الفورمات, it's more يعني it's a longer format. You can chop it up and take some bits and pieces from it for social media. It has a better هيك look and feel to it than just really the edits and the quick content.
Snackable content.
صح؟ يعني شوي ما تخيلت انها بتنجح as a long format.
But
people needs that format.
Of course. Anna, when you have your podcast, I go and I watch the full episode, because especially if I'm interested in that person that you're interviewing, and sometimes it's the snippet. So I've told you this before about one of your guests where I was like someone who I wouldn't necessarily be interested in, and then I was like, okay, I want to get to know this person, because if Hikmat is interviewing that person, it means there's something like of value there. Oh my God. It changed my whole perception of that person. And I was like, I told you, I got upset about myself for judging them. And then when I got to watch the whole thing, I'm like, it humanized them and I really connected with them. No interview can do that, and that's why I really, really value podcasts. Plus, my favorite thing as well about podcasts is that you could be falling asleep, you could be running, you could be like making your food, whatever it is, it's on the go. But the added bonus is that it's also filmed. So you can have
Yeah,
both
you can
together.
choose
Yes.
whether to hear it or to watch it as well. طارق, أنت creative director ب Estée Lauder company, and this is like a big position. يعني it's a big company, it's big responsibilities. أنت you run a team, a big team. You mix it's mix of creative passion. You have a lot يعني to take care of. But tell me, how did you start in creative directing, and why did you choose this career? It's art, it's beautiful, but from the beginning, how did you start?
I was always a visual person. I think when I was a kid, I tried to trace back when I would take my mom's magazines, cut them up and create collages. So I was very much interested in media since I was a kid. I always used to, I mean, my mom has also had a big influence on me in that sense. She nurtured that side of me. She would always tell me, no, paint, draw, design, play with clothes, like whatever you want. She nurtured that part of me, and I took it with me. And actually, a while back, I had the realization that I'm basically getting paid to play. And I started laughing لأنه عن جد تخيل إنه أنا I'm an adult who gets paid to play with ideas, and this is as simple as it is. So I've kept that childish innocence in me, in that sense, about that passion, and it drives me all the time. Like, you know, now we're in Ramadan and all the Ramadan campaigns come out, the advertising campaigns, and it's like, you should see me, like I'm like excited. I woke up on the first day of Ramadan, I'm like, I want to see the ads, I want to see like the stories that everybody put out. I have a passion for it, I admire it. Like, there's nothing that feels greater than watching a piece of content or a film or anything really that connects with you and that inspires you, and just it stays in your head and you're like, oh wow, and you start to think about different things. I truly love it, and this is the passion that I have, and this is the passion that drives any creative really who wants to grow in this career, because as you know, it's a tough industry and you have to always be up to date and always understanding what's going on and what are consumers connecting with, what do people want to see. At the same time, you want to be artistic and you still want to foster that sense in yourself. So to be able to do all of that, you have to have the passion, you have to love it, you have to crave it. Like, sometimes I'll watch a good movie and I'll spend days just thinking about it, really days. And as I'm watching the movie, I'm like looking at the set design, the costume design, the acting, the monologue, the script writing, every cinematography. It's just like you dissect everything. And you know, when you're creating a film, it's a huge, huge, huge team. And I respect the art form. I respect the arts. I really enjoy what I do. And I'm very lucky that I got to do it, because as you know, when you're a kid, especially if you're Lebanese, you're being like either doctor, engineer, or lawyer. It's those three, avenues and professions. But I think for me, what I loved is that it was harder with my dad though, but eventually my dad was like, okay, do what you love. And he didn't think that it would become anything substantial. I remember when I made it and I became successful, he was very proud, like, and I was like, I told you.
Yes.
I told you I can do it. So yeah, I really love my profession.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best thing to work in something that you love. I mean, this is the ultimate. I mean, this is what I did when I started my career as a photographer. That's ultimate. But we were talking just behind before we started the podcast. It is an industry that it should be full of passion and creative and ideas and emotions, but it's tough at the same time. And we don't want it to change to that side where it's like very corporate-y, but it has to succeed. And I think I asked you this question, how you can balance between the corporate world and the creative. And there is one side has to take from the other side. I don't see them like being in both sides parallel. Someone has to say creative is something risky. To create something, you have to come up with a new idea that is risky, it's not proven, and it's not been tested in the market. The corporate world, they need ideas that been always reach to a success, and then any ideas that make success, it's been proven, it's been tested, and it's not a new idea. And I asked you this question in the panel. I want you to talk about it here, how you balance between the creative world and the corporate world.
Definitely, لما بلشت my corporate career, I was like scared, because before that I was very artistic. I got to do whatever I wanted. I never really was in an environment where everything is quantified, everything is driven by performance, everything is about how much how many people we're going to reach, how many people are going to see this, how many people are going to connect with this creative that you're creating. And I thought it's going to limit my creativity. I really thought it's going to be my prison. And then something happened where I'm like, I discovered even if there are rules, even if there are limitations, I become more creative. I don't know how to explain it, but it's as if those rules, I maneuver them. And because of these maneuvers, I come up with a big idea. You know what I mean? And especially when you're working on so many different brands, they have so many different brand equities, different brand images, and you have to stick within those rules. But then if you deep dive into the brand and you understand, you come up with a story. And I told you, like, yes, when I'm coming up with ideas, I also work on insights. I understand what the insights are. What are consumers looking for? What do they resonate with? What are they looking for? You know, so this is in the back of my mind as I'm coming up with ideas. It doesn't limit me. It actually reinforces my ideas. So when I come up with a pitch and I sell the idea, at the end of the day, we're selling stories, emotions, and I pitch it. I've never had a pitch get rejected. Literally never had a pitch get rejected because I nail it. I know exactly what the brand is about. I know exactly what the consumer wants to see, and I give you that story, and you connect with it, and that's how I take it. Now, is it a risk? Am I always scared when a campaign comes out if it's going to resonate or not? Yes, of course, and there are many factors that affect why something worked or didn't work. What I love about the company I'm in is that we are always learning. So there's no such thing as failure because the whole point is to test, try, be as authentic as possible. I think this is the number one thing that helps me balance the corporate side and the creative side. What do I want to see? Because I don't want to skip my own ads. I want to see them. And mind you, sometimes I'll see ads that I will just stop other ads and I'll be like, oh, that's amazing. And I'll deep dive into it and see what they did there and what the brand is representing. You know how many times I've bought things because of an ad? Yeah, because the thing is, we all want to be associated to stories. We all want to connect with this brand, with your brand, for example, Hikmat. I like what your brand represents, so I want more of it, or I want to enjoy it as an experience. You know what I mean? So that's why I love balancing the corporate and the creative side. And yes, it's true. Sometimes the corporate wins over. Sometimes the creative wins over. You'd be surprised by how many brands are willing to go the extra mile because they believe in the story you're trying to tell or the authenticity you're trying to relay. So I really believe there's a way to balance both.
Yes, and I think the corporate world will keep align the creativity and the craziness that it might happen. And also, we're not talking here art for the art form only. I mean, we need to link it to the business. And but you said something very, very nice. We are always connected to a story, and the brand, if it doesn't give me emotion or a story or anything that I can relate myself and my feeling to it, it doesn't mean to me. It doesn't have a value to me.
Why am I going to buy a product? There's so many products. There's so many companies, so many brands. Why are you actually buying a product? Why do you go to the store? Why do you put your hard-earned money into something? It's because you believe in the brand, or because you like the aesthetic of the brand, or because, you know, it resonates with you. Or, you know, when I feel seen by a brand. You know, a few years ago, when I first joined the industry, there wasn't representation for plus-sized people. And I was shocked when I started seeing plus-sized people in ads, because I never thought the day would come. You know, we live in a fat-phobic society, so how would that be celebrated? And then suddenly you're seen. So you feel like you can belong to this brand. So this kind of association is something very important to me, especially that I'm Middle Eastern. So when I first took on this job, I really wanted to make sure that I represent my people. Like we need to be seen the right way, not a kind of fake, you know, overview of how the West sees the Middle East. No, how do we see ourselves? Who are we? What are we? And then try to put that in my creative. So it's really important.
Yeah, because this is empowering. This will empower people and will make them have the feeling and connect to the to any brand. And I think any brand should start from a story, from a place, from a DNA that they believe in. Otherwise, they can't continue. They will be copying.
Of course, it has to be authentic to you. So when I'm working on any brand, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna come up with a story that resonates authentically with the brand and the consumer. Okay, at the same time, it cannot be that it's a far-fetched idea. It cannot be that, you know, I don't want to talk about some brands, but some brands will come out and they will put something that I'm shocked. I'm like, but you know, everything you represent is against Ramadan, for example. So how are you, you know, saying something about that? So sometimes I feel like it's a bit the juxtaposition, like the
Yeah.
positioning is a bit strange.
Yes.
But if it's done right and it's authentic to the brand, you connect with it because it's genuine. It's not like fabricated. Because, you know, for example, women empowerment right now is a very big subject. And it's been up and coming in the past 3 or 4 years, I would say. It started with 2 or 3 brands, and then suddenly all the brands
All of
are
them.
playing on
Yeah,
women
it's
empowerment.
like a wave now, and everyone wants to jump on that.
Yes, and it became gimmicky, I think. Like, but if the brand started with a woman, if the brand was founded by a woman who fought hard against all odds to build what she believes in, and then she has effectively helped other people do that, and then you tell that story, that for me is a story worth telling. I think people don't know much about the team working on something. They see the campaign and it comes to life, and sometimes they will like it, sometimes they're like, oh, cool lipstick, I'll buy it, whatever. They don't understand how much drives the team behind those campaigns, how much they believe in this brand, how much they believe in what this brand is doing, and you know, like the work that they put in, not just to make it look beautiful, but for it to mean something. Because going back to creativity, I never wanted to create something without purpose. I think creating something that's just pretty for the sake of it looking good lacks the soul in it. For me and my team and almost everyone I work with, it needs to have a purpose. It needs to really mean something. Because if I want to look at my year, every year, what I'm producing, if that content I created didn't have a meaning, I don't want this job. I really don't want this job. For me, I want to feel like I have a purpose. I'm contributing to something. And this is something I tell my team. I tell them, you don't understand how cool it is that we grew up watching ads that are dubbed, like a white woman dubbed in Arabic or whatever. And that was our representation. That was what we looked up to. And now we have the opportunity to create ads for us, by us, representing us. So we're actually like a part of that narrative. And my team was like, whoa, true.
Yes, it's
like
true.
They hadn't realized it, because I
Yeah.
told them our ads get seen by millions of people around the world. And then it also gets projected to outside. So the West, when they look in and they see what we're doing, they're like, oh, is this what Saudi women look like, or what are like? Is this what Lebanese guys look? It's amazing to be a part of that. And that meaning is what drives me to do more and grow and be better.
Yes, and that dub meaning that the voice is putting on a different face, but also now that face used to be a model. Now we are actually not also having a real woman. We're having a real person from the real culture, from the country itself, and we're not using models anymore because we don't want any, you know. I'm not saying more models are not amazing, but
No, they are. It depends on the project.
It depends on the project, yes.
But with real
if we are
people-
talking about let's Saudi woman, I don't want to bring like a
no, someone who looks like a Saudi
yes
woman.
from Russia, but she has the skin of Saudi woman.
Oh my God, I'm completely against that. I'm completely against that. It's very important to me that it is authentic and genuine. And we have an abundance of beauty in our region. I mean, Saudis, Egyptians, Moroccans, Lebanese, the whole shebang. Every country has an abundance of beauty to offer, and every country has such a beautiful cultural nuance to represent. So why would I deprive them of that just for me to tick a box? Don't tick the box.
Tarek, when this started, as not in the company, in
general,
in the world, what made it like, there's a shift happened?
I think we grew up in a very I mean, you know, the 2000s, where even 90s, 2000s were ripe, filled with like the skinny white girl era. Like it was that kind of era where everybody was thin, everybody was on a diet. It was all about the blondes. You know, that's what took over pop culture. And for us as Middle Easterns or Arabs or people of color, this is what we understood to be the norm. You look at every movie, it's a blonde guy, a blonde girl. Like there was no representation. Like if there was an Asian or a Black or a Middle Eastern, they would be a friend and they would just pass by, you know. And we grew up with that notion. So that's our understanding of what beauty is and what the world looks like. But that's not the world. I think things started to change because people were sick of seeing the same thing over and over. This manufacturing of this image from the West of what represents the whole world. And then it took some, you know, risk takers, going back to risk, to say, okay, let's try to change the game here. But I have to give it to all the people who worked hard to get their voices heard, because people fought hard for this. I mean, can you imagine being a plus size model, the first plus size model on a runway? How people were staring,
Yes.
how people were looking, pushing for that right. Can you imagine being the lead in a movie as an Arab and not be labeled as a
Yeah.
Can you imagine everything that these people had to go through? And still, it's 2024, we're still fighting for genuine representation. There's something that I don't like. And whenever I'm watching a movie or a series now, you could almost formulate it. Okay, they got, you know, an African lead, a white co-lead, Asian best friend, like queer people here, like just like formulate it so that they tick the box. And what you end up with is a formula, because they're trying to show you, hey, look, we're representing everyone.
Yeah.
But it's not authentic to the story. It's not real. It doesn't feel genuine. I should get to a point where it doesn't matter what ethnicity this person belongs to. This is the story. It doesn't have to feel forced. So sometimes you still feel like it's forced or like they're ticking a box, but we've come a long way.
Yes, of course. I think for, the social media helped a lot.
Yes.
I think when the rise of like any person holds his phone and has his own TV and his own broadcast, you know, and then talking and expressing himself and selling products as well.
Yes.
Like an influencer, for example.
Everybody's an influencer now.
Exactly. I mean, that's another topic.
Yeah.
But it started from there when influencers, they start to sell. Okay, an influencer is a normal girl or a normal guy, and he's talking. He has his own audience, and then brands wants to associate with him, and he's a normal person. What I mean by normal is not the top model, faking actor or whatever.
Yeah.
He's just a human being like anybody. So, and then they said, you know what, these people are like, you know, getting the money as well, you know, they are effective. So this media is working. So let's jump into that media. So this one, I feel like it affected a lot.
I mean, that's the aftermath of things. What is an influencer? The meaning of the word influencer. What is an influencer supposed to do? Now it changed.
It changed.
But as a person, I mean, Hikmat, I'm sure you've influenced people in your private life, your friends, your family. You found this amazing, I don't know, product, okay, let's say. And you're like, guys, oh my God, I really love it. And this is you influencing other people because they trust you. You know, you've earned that trust. They trust you. They'll try this product because of you. Or when you influence people in many different things. I mean, how many times have you sat with a friend who needed a piece of advice and they listened to you and they went for it and it changed their lives? Like, this is what influence is supposed to do. Then you go to now and the manufactured aspect of it. I mean, I don't like when somebody is selling a product to me. I don't like it. For me, it has to feel real. It has to feel genuine. Like you really love this product because you've been bald for 3 years and now you can have, I don't know, like something crazy. Or, you know, you can't sleep well and this product really worked. Like there has to be something meaningful there, not you trying to sell a product to me. I think that's the most important thing that brands need to look at when they're working with an influencer or a creator or whatever. Does this make sense? Is this, I love, you know what? I love when influencers come and say, I've been using this product for 10 years and now I get to finally work with the brand. Like a genuine advocate for the brand. For me, that makes sense. For me, that's believable. I know that this girl has been wearing this brand for this many years and now she's actually the spokesperson for that brand. I love it. That makes sense to me.
Yes, and not having the opposite brand after 10 minutes with another ad.
Oh my God. Or start with like, you know, I love when this is hilarious, but like when there's a creator or influencer who one day is doing like a high-end jewelry brand and it's like so beautiful, and the next day it's KFC. It's like,
Yes, exactly.
it kills me. It kills me. It's like, what are you doing? I get it. People have to make a living for sure, definitely. But I also believe in a caliber, or at least like
Speciality
yeah,
as well.
specialty, like health creators specialized in health. Okay, they advocate for products that are health driven, or like you just have to have an angle.
Yeah,
It cannot be I'll take anything that gets the money going.
Yeah, you need to pick. Tarek, you're a very emotional person, and we were talking about influencing, and you influence a lot of people around you as well. You give them a lot of, support, emotional support, and it's something as well. We were talking about the industry, but not even the people around you who works with you, the people who are actually collaborating with you, like any other external companies. It's just like you have the passion and you give a lot from yourself, and you don't put also like you're not worried by telling person it's a great job, I love it. And this is a great mentality, because some people are afraid to say, oh, you did amazing, because they are afraid, oh, he's gonna take advantage of me, or he's gonna increase the price, or whatever. Or that person is not gonna work as hard as if I emotionally give him support in this one. But I feel I mean, you're my client, you're my you're tough as well, I understand. You're 100% tough, but you can feel genuine when you are giving your support or emotional, or your any idea about any topic, whether it's good or not good. You have that. And I feel like this industry, it has a lack of being transparent, because we are afraid from each other. Like, am I worried as a business owner, for example, shall I give them the support or not? I'm not talking about myself, but in general, they will be like, if I give him too much, he might maybe ask for an increase of a salary or something like that. Or if I support that, or this client, if he comes and show me like he did the work for me, and then if I tell him, wow, it's amazing, and he might like, you know what, I charge him less, maybe I charge him more, because he showed it's a mentality that we, unfortunately, we still need a lot in this region. We need to work harder to reach to that mentality where no, it might reflect back, and they might gives you more, and this.
I think, listen, definitely you have to look at the cultural nuances as well, not just the industry, like how we handle business in the Middle East compared to how we handle it in Paris, in the States, etc. I think I thrive on positive reinforcement. I thrive on honesty and transparency. I thrive when everybody feels like they belong to this, like we're all a part of something. Like, for example, when I'm working with you guys or any collaborator, my team, anyone really, we're all sharing this. This is our work. This is our hard passion that's going into creating something substantial. It doesn't take much to be kind. It genuinely does not take much to be kind. If somebody is great and they're doing a great job, why not let them have it? Why not have them start their day with, I love your work. You did such a great job. It changes your entire being. For me, like, I see the way people feel and how they radiate when they get that, compassion, that love, that positivity, that reinforcement. They actually want to do better next time. I don't believe in the mentality that if I tell you you're great, you're going to be like, oh yeah, I'm great, so I'm not going to, do much. No, you're going to want to do more. You're going to want to create more. You're going to want to collaborate with me with like passionately. I think it's a very toxic mentality, what you just mentioned. I think it's toxic masculinity as well, because that plays a role into it, because it feels like, oh yeah, I don't want to overdo it. Like, okay, you did a good job. Okay, thank you, bye. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's no connection. I love to build connections with people, especially people I work with, because honestly, Hikmat, like, do you wake up thinking about numbers, or do you wake up thinking about, what am I going to create? What am I going to do? What am I going to, like, there's this fire within us. So what a privilege it is that like-minded people can come together and create something meaningful, And On the subject of money, everybody should be compensated according to the work that they do. Like for me, the worst thing is when somebody says, yeah, I'll credit you, thank you for your work.
Yes, of course, yeah.
Like
I
that
mean,
is
it's
the
work.
worst kind of thing.
But I'm saying this is the mentality that I'm feeling most of the time, unfortunately, with like that worry. I don't want to give you, and it's in the industry, I just don't want to give you the credit because I'm worried that you'll take advantage of it. It's always there, from the boss to his employees. It's from the client to his suppliers.
But that's insecurity. That's insecurity as well. I'm talking about teams, the part of teams. Like, what is the point of, for example, I've seen it, you know, when a manager asks their team to create some slides for them and then they go on and present those slides without even crediting their team. Why? What is it going to take from you? You know how beautiful it is to bring on your team and have them present the work that they did. They're part of your team. Everybody wins. It's not like a one-man show. It's not like you're operating solo. You can have everybody be connected. You know how many agencies we've worked with and credited, and then those agencies go on to work with competitor brands with bigger budgets and they do better. Do you think we feel like, oh my God, they took our agency? No, because you will always come back to us and say, you guys believed in me first. I still want to work with you, even if you have a limited budget, for example. It has happened between us, you know? And this is what I pride myself on. Like, at the end of the day, there's so much, there's an abundance in our region. There's an abundance in this industry. Let's all share it. Let's all credit each other. There could be more love and compassion. I mean, I've seen the worst people create campaigns that are supposed to make you cry. I don't cry when I watch them because I know that that person is mean and it's like not someone who is, you know, sharing their work and sharing that credit.
You had that experience, sorry to interrupt. You had that experience from a creative director who you worked with before in your previous, you know, beginning of your job, and you find that they are tough and not crediting in this. And you mentioned that.
Yes, I've worked with multiple creative directors before I became one, and I swore I would never be like a lot of them because they're so mean. They're so mean, and it depends on their mood and how they feel. Like, oh, what is this? No. You would have put your heart and soul into it all weekend long, and you come on Monday and you're excited. You compromise your own weekend to create something you believe in, and they're like, no. And they move on. They don't even give you feedback. What could I work on better? What could I create to do better? You know, and I promised myself I would not be one of those people, and I thank God I didn't end up being one of them. I really care genuinely for the growth of my team and for the growth of the people that work with me. I also approach everything as a learning. When I'm working with other creative directors, I come to them and tell them, I'm here to learn from you. I'm genuinely here to learn from you. I want to learn because you have maybe a bigger experience or you have more experience than me. And I really want to learn from that. I don't know why I think people look at humility as weakness, especially men. And I find that is the weakness itself, because being humble, being vulnerable, being emotional is a power. Genuinely, it's a power. I know that my team would go at any length for me. I would never abuse that power. I would never make them do. You know, sometimes I follow my team members and tell them, it's time to log off. It's time to go home. Why are you connected when you know when you're supposed to be off? All of these things, because this is what helps them feel like they belong to something big and something important and the family. And that's something I pride myself on, really. Because yeah, sometimes I want to be mean. I want to go into a room and yell at everyone. You don't do that. You just don't do that. You have to respect people. And believe me, sometimes situations happen. You've been on sets where it's like a 20-hour shoot and like you're exhausted and you can't put on a smile anymore. But even within that exhaustion, kindness can still prevail and kindness can be there. So specifically when it comes to men in our industry, I find them as weak. Yeah.
Because they are not sharing their emotions enough?
At all costs. This is the thing that men are either raised to do. I think they're conditioned to do. Oh, you're emotional? Like, what? You're a man and you're emotional? Like, yeah, men cry. Men can have. And the funny thing is that a lot of men say that women are emotional. Men scream and shout And yeah, do they not think that this is disguised emotions? Like, I find it very, and this is why maybe I didn't want to stay in an agency environment. You know, our industry is mostly male dominated. I love my company because it's mostly women dominated. It's great, 86% women, the best thing ever. And I remember I was once in an agency, and I joined it for a couple of months, and so I've only had those months, and then I said never again. And they were working on campaign. The way it works in agencies, big agencies, is that they want to work on a campaign that will win awards. So they will plug in the brand to win that award. And it's all formulated. It's not really coming with passion. So I wanted to do something for women in one of the campaigns. And I remember the CMO, or I forgot his title, he was like, why would we do that? And it was all men in the room. And I was like, you know, to give back to women. He's like, who cares? And then they just moved on. And I was like, whoa, okay, this is definitely not what I want to do in my life.
Not the place I want to be.
Not the place I want to be. And it's that I also realized that it's mostly men that are projecting what women should look like, or what are like representation. And I felt like it's not balanced. It's not the right way. And I see how most men lead in a work environment and in our industry. It does not align with me at all. It's a lot of testosterone, a lot of like, my idea is better than yours, a lot of like, if I'm going to stay up till midnight, you're going to stay up till midnight with me. As if it's my fault that you don't know how to start working when you wake up at 8 and you start functioning at 5 p.m. in the afternoon. So a lot of that toxic masculinity really got to me, because I was like, I'm not aligned with this. I'm definitely not aligned with this. And then as I started working with more women, I realized, oh my God, women are much smarter than men. They're just much smarter. Women have all of these different aspects, the skill set, the intelligence, the empowerment, but they also get to be emotional and vulnerable. They're okay with showing emotions and vulnerability. And I think that's a superpower to have. I think when you had actually a guest, I'm not going to mention her name, but you had a guest, and she said that something about like sensitive people, or there's too much oversensitivity. And I looked at the post and I wanted to message you. I didn't end up messaging you because I tried to understand her point of view. And I think I read the comments and I also saw what people were saying. A lot of people were offended by what she said. I think I tried to understand what she's saying, but she was also coming, for me, it was as if like, that's the perception we've been trying to change. Because I celebrate the fact that now I see men who accept their vulnerability and are vocal about it. I've watched podcasts where men cry. I love it because they're allowing themselves to feel. I feel like we are conditioned into this thing of silence, of like, men are not allowed to be sensitive or emotional or express themselves. And that's why I'm close to a lot of people who tell me, you allow me to be sensitive and vulnerable. Like, I've had, my friends, men, who come and they can cry in front of me and tell me everything and be super vulnerable. But then we switch the minute, you're out of there. And I think it's very important that we build a world where men heal from the way, including me. I was always sensitive and always emotional ever since I was a little kid. And whenever my dad would tell me, you're a big boy, boys don't cry, my mom would come and tell him, no, they cry, let him cry. And I think that's what helped me process my emotions very effectively. I think when you're surrounded by people who block their emotions constantly. I have a very weird theory. It's not scientific, by the way. It's just like that men die younger than women because they don't express their emotions. They bottle it up. I had an uncle who passed away from a stroke. He was 52. He was so healthy. He would exercise. He would yell at us if we ate ketchup with anything. He was super healthy. One day, he just had a stroke, went into a coma for a week and passed away. And doctor said it was probably stress or sadness. Imagine dying from that. So that always stuck with me. And I think, sorry, I detoured and I went to a billion subject, but I think this is why I love you, for example, Hikmat. Like, you are a man in this industry, but I have seen you and how you work with teams, how you work with people, how you work with your guests, how you collaborate with them. You allow for emotions to come through. You allow for sensitivity to come through, humanity to come through. And I think that's why probably you have teams that adore working with you. I mean, I know from everyone who's worked with you and from my side, they absolutely love working with you. You allow yourself to be. But I'm sure you've noticed this toxic element that I'm talking about in our...
Yes, I mean, I believe in the balance, but although I gain a lot, most of my staff are women, and I feel like the value they add to the company, you know, the emotional value, and this is something that it's needed in the corporate world. I mean, I've never worked in the company where it's really fully, you know, 99% men in that. So I know it's tough, but I don't want to be there as well because it lacks the balance.
Yeah.
And I feel we need the balance. We don't need also women to play the role of a man as well. So, but I believe we need to see the power of the woman, what they can add to the business, what they can add value by them being softer and being emotional and being, you know, and being creative, because creativity is more onto the feminine side, and and expressing and you know, because if you are pure masculine, you're just really driven by math and then
it's not about that. It's because, I mean, I've worked with women who are pretty tough and pretty mathematical and pretty you know, scary as well. So it's not about that. It's about that energy you're talking about. I think we are made whole by, you know, both men and women. This is how everything works. I think we need that synergy and that proactiveness, because it's true. If it's balanced in the workforce or in a team or whatever, you bring in different opinions, different nuances, and then those energies come together to create something very wholesome. This is how I think you're trying to interpret it.
Yes, from the values they give, even if they are emotional, and then even if they're maybe then, let's say, if they can't work for 15 hours, I mean, working, the number is not it's gonna give you the end result.
I'm against that as well. I don't know how you are on long working hours if they're unnecessary. I mean, definitely working 15 hours every day, you're gonna crash and it's not gonna be productive. I don't know if you've seen that, you know, burnout is a real thing and things like that happen. I believe time management is the most important thing in our industry as well, by the way. I've seen people who work long hours and pride themselves on working long hours, but then the amount of work that they've done in those long hours is nothing, is minimal. Have you experienced that as well? You've seen it, yes. And for me, it's very important that everything is balanced, especially in the advertising industry. I still don't understand why people stay up so late in our industry. Like, genuinely, I know when there's a shoot, definitely. I mean, you know, like a 3-day shoot, 4-day shoot, you're giving it your all, the pre-production, the last 2 weeks before a shoot, God knows it's very difficult. But I feel like this constant hustle of like, I want to work more, put more hours, not having a work-life balance. This is something our industry also struggles in.
Yes, of course. It's the imbalance of, you know, being structured and have a proper schedule. That's why you work harder. It's not because you're smarter. You know, you're trying to balance things, and then you're doing it in the wrong way, and you will have a burnout at the end of the day. Yeah, it's true. And I can tell you, it's this is something I lack from. Yeah, that's why I work harder, because I want to balance my let's say not very balanced life. It's true. I mean, if you have a proper balanced life, then you will work much less, and then you will be happier. And so I want to stay in a very good position in life. So you need to double your cylinders. I don't know. You need to push harder or spend more fuel just to keep up with where you positioned yourself. And this is another story.
Tell me about that.
You know, it's another story when you position yourself, Tarek, you know, when you put yourself in a place. And this place, I don't know is it making you happy? Is it sustainable? Is it something that you want to really keep on, you know, putting that fuel and pressuring? And I don't know. It's you start to question yourself.
And do you feel like that comes with age as well?
No, the age will kind of give you the signs of like, hey, you can't go like before, or just like you can't, you're running out, you're getting to burn out. That's why you start to question. You had these questions, but you had kind of the power to, it's like, I will work
I'm
hard.
young.
I'm young. I can double my work,
Mm.
I mean, that's why you need to step back, even if you are young, and then any like that's why if you have a, let's say, an unfortunate incident, it helps you in your life when you are
True.
young, because it will reshape like the whole system and let you think of. I mean, look at Corona. Look what it did for us. It shocked the world, and it made me make my podcast, because just hey, stop for a second. Everybody's like on a vacation, let's say. All right, I mean, between bracket, but rethink of your life. What do you
Yeah.
really want? I mean, okay, I've been running harder, and I love what I do, because that's my passion. I'm not doing it for anything else. But when somebody gave me the break, forced me with that break, which is Corona, it's just like I want to create a podcast.
I love that.
Yeah.
And what do you feel stayed with you after Corona from those realizations? Because I feel like a lot of people forgot. They found their purpose during that break, but now I feel like things are going back slowly to how they were before before COVID. What has stayed with you from those realizations?
I mean, it's 100%. I mean, when things are getting back, you just like get driven. But now I felt that passion that I have, and I want to stick to it. I want to try to change it. So I've never had that break in my life. I've never stopped and rethink of myself, what I really want in life.
Are you having that break now?
I mean,
Do you allow yourself now a
and
bit of breaks here and there?
I'm still trying. I'm still trying. I was forced to have it with Corona, and it reshaped the whole thing for my life. But sometimes you put yourself into many responsibilities in life, and many, this is what I said, the positioning. I mean, you put yourself in some place, or you want to stay there, but how much you can maintain it, in terms of like you're owner of a company, you have a social status, but how much you're happy from inside.
That's the thing. How happy are you? I think the way I see it, materialistic things don't give you happiness. A job position or a company or a title or I don't know, whatever you want to call it, doesn't give you happiness. These are all materialistic things that are ego driven, in my opinion. I think what happened in Corona is that people connected to the simpler aspect of life. What makes life so precious? A lot of people used to focus, I'll be happy when I travel to this place, or when I make this much money, or when I reach that position, or, there's so many ors. So it's postponed happiness, like they call it, until I get to that point. You get to that point, you're burnt out, or you're exhausted, or it's already not enough because you need
Or
to
you're
go.
old.
Or you're old. Time is such a time that I'm so fascinated by the concept of time. And I think we all understood during COVID that time is so precious and time is fleeting and time passes by very quickly. And what's important is family, friendship, love, your health. Health is one of the most vulnerable things. And, you get a bit of a shake and you're like, oh my God, it's a very valuable thing. I think people should stop focusing on, if I do this, I'll be happy. Postponed happiness doesn't work. And they should stop thinking about what happiness looks like. Happiness is an emotion on a huge spectrum, wide spectrum of human emotions. I mean, happiness is, you're sitting in one evening having dinner and suddenly you look around you and you're like, whoa, I love these people. I'm very happy. That's a moment that comes to you. Or happiness is you're with your dog or with your kid playing and you're laughing very like genuinely and you're like, wow, I'm really happy. It comes in moments. And what happens for the idea of happiness, these small moments in your life that when you look at your life, they become connected and the bigger picture, which creates an emotion of being content. If you're content with your life, if you're grateful for your life and everything you're experiencing, that's a sustainable kind of happiness. It's not happiness per se, but it's this continuous stream of joy and wonder and all of that. I think when I see people, especially maybe younger people, who are like, oh my God, I want to get promoted, or I want to become this, or when I do this, I'm like, It's not gonna work out. I don't say it, I think it internally. Of course, you know, every person has to go through their own journey. But when I accepted that, you know, I don't need to go to New York to be happy. I know I don't need to do this to be happy. Happiness is here. It's with me, because I will go everywhere. It happened to me when I actually moved to Spain from Lebanon, my first time leaving the country to study there. And I thought, you know, I'm gonna move to Spain and like everything is gonna be great. Oh my God. It was insane. I realized things don't happen. Like, you carry yourself to wherever you go. Things are not going to magically happen, because, you know, when you're a kid, and I was in my early 20s at the time, so I don't think, you know, I had that understanding. In a movie, you know, somebody moves and they go to a new place and all this excitement happens. What they don't tell you is that you're taking yourself with you. So that baggage comes with you. And then if you're genuinely not happy on the inside, not content internally, no amount of anything, not a new city, new country, new car, new title, new girlfriend, new boy, nothing could make you happy, because it's self-initiated. So now I think what I took from COVID, for example, is that life is short. It's very valuable. It's very precious. We're very lucky to be here today and to experience life as is. Relationships, loved ones, family, friends are what matter. And your profession, your ambition, all of that is secondary and should not be on the expense of those important things like your health and your loved ones and your personal life. And what ends up happening is that you try to create two parallels. You're growing in your profession and you're thriving and you're passionate, but you also know how to say no, because you have this other line that is so fulfilling and so important and so beautiful that you're not willing to compromise as well. So, but I do feel like now, it's been 4 years since the pandemic, people are going back to the hustle culture. I see it. I see people stressed again and like anxious, and their calendar is filled with events and things to do, and I have to do that, I have to be there, I have everything, and I feel like I'm too scared of that because I don't want to go there.
Because the system forced you to go back to this, you know, all these, you know, distraction and media and advertising and all that, you know, just like let you forget that moment that you felt like what's valuable for you and what you really need in love, and you touched it in your hand, you know. Yeah, it's yeah, I mean, it's a great message that you're passing now to realize, like, just remember these moments. And but it's very intimidating, all the they're trying to distract you. They know also, that fact.
Don't compare yourself to other people. Don't you feel like when you see somebody traveling or somebody doing this or somebody accomplished something, you're like, I want to do that too?
Yeah, it's comparing and judgment. You're afraid of judgment.
Yes. Don't. I think, you know, I see a lot of people now detoxing from social media. I don't agree with it. I think you have to put the limitation. You can browse, you know, go surf all the platforms and just have this mentality of like, I'm content with my life. So seeing somebody else's life will not make me think otherwise, you know. But I know a lot of people who can't go on social media anymore because it genuinely affects them. Like they can't do it. And for me, it's like, stop comparing to other people. I think that's where it starts. It's this constant comparison. I mean, if you're like, I'm going to talk about you, Hikmat. You have this amazing agency, this amazing podcast. You have a huge, wide group of people who adore you, family, friends, everything. And that is what matters to you as well, because, you know, it's an important part of you. You also have to decide what is the most important thing for you in your career as well, because I feel like with you, you try to put many hats on. No?
Yes, it's true.
Like you're the hyphen man. You do it all. I mean, even when we're working with you as an agency, you're the photographer, the director, that, like everything, which is incredible to see. But I'm sure that has a cost on your well-being sometimes.
Yes, of course, yes.
Because, you know, what we do is very detail-oriented. This is what people don't realize, I think. What makes a great creative is how many details you see in something, and perfecting those details, which can be so detrimental to your mental health and physical health, because you're trying to see everything, and the lighting here is not good. Oh, but this, and you have multiple projects going on at the same time. You're still trying to socialize because you need to PR yourself. You need to do all of that. I'm sure you have days when you come
Yes,
back home and
it's
you're like,
overwhelming. Tari, you've changed a lot as well. You've يعني I don't know, you went to a vacation. Tell me about it. You went to sabbatical,
yeah,
long
yeah.
vacation,
So,
and I feel a different Tariq, to be honest.
yeah.
Like a stronger, هيك, I don't know if it's the podcast or if that's you, but it's so. I feel you're you're stronger. You know what's you. Maybe are you limiting your emotions because you are always giving? Did you reach to a point where it gets like what do you say, like you were burned out in a way?
Yes. So that vacation was a 2 month sick leave. It was a sabbatical because I completely collapsed. I had a nervous breakdown. Again, I was getting to a point where I was getting affected by so many things. My dad had an accident this summer. It really affected me. We didn't know if he was gonna survive. He's good now. He survived it. My one of my best friends, their mom, the building collapsed on
Yes,
her.
I heard about
Yes,
that in Mansouriye.
yes, and it affected me. And everything that has been happening in Gaza, like you cannot not feel. You see these images and you feel so helpless. I mean, you're Lebanese as well, and you know how helpless we feel about our situation in our country. I mean, it just felt so overwhelming, everything going on an emotional level. But also I was burnt out from work. I was like long hours doing things because of me, not because of my job, because I was that driven by like, I want to perfect this, I want to do that. So everything coming together. I was also off my meds. I took antidepressants for 5 years and I was off them. So I didn't have the shield to protect me from these emotions. And mind you, I wanted to feel because I was diagnosed 6 years ago with extreme panic disorder, anxiety and panic disorder. And I was in an emergency room because I thought I was having a heart attack and like the whole shebang. And I went to see a psychiatrist and they put me on... he diagnosed me officially of the things that I had on. I had a bit of agoraphobia, which is like social setting. I would like get, I suffocate. I couldn't be there. So many different things that manifested when I was 27 years old, by the way. And for 5 years, I was on these meds. But by the end of these meds, I wasn't feeling anything anymore. Nothing. Hikmat, I would be, you know me, I would be sitting with someone I care about and they're telling me something sad. I'm not feeling anything. So I went to my therapist. I was like, why am I not feeling anything anymore? And it's actually one of the symptoms of these meds is that they block your emotions. It's like there's a veil on top of your emotions and it filters everything out. So you become a bit numb. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. So I stopped the meds with my psychiatrist. It took 1.5 years to like progressively go down. So by that time, I was not immune to those emotions. And I was feeling everything again. And I was exhausted. And a lot of tragic
external
things.
And internal emotions.
External and internal. I collapsed. There was a build-up to it. So I could see that something is wrong. No matter how much I sleep, I'm not recovering. I'm constantly tired. I'm like on high alert. I started to... something weird was happening. When I would wake up, I would count how long it takes to brush your teeth and how long it takes to wash your face and why does everything take so much time. It was like a depression just like going down on me. And one day I woke up and I just woke up and I started crying in bed. I couldn't exist anymore. I was depleted, exhausted. I felt done. I want nothing. I want to be left alone. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to even get out of bed. It was one of the darkest times of my life. And I remember I had a call with my therapist and I told her, what is going on? Why am I not being able to bounce back? What is going on? And she told me something very powerful. She said, the nervous system, our nervous system, even if we do therapy to heal from trauma, the nervous system doesn't forget. And those traumas stay with you and get reactivated. And every human being has a threshold of how much trauma they can take. And for me, it had been years. I've had traumatic events as a child, blah, 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 all of that I thought I healed from. Because for me, I did all the therapy and all the work that needs to be done. I'm one of those like do-it-yourself, grow, optimist, conquer everything. You're not a victim, you're a survivor. I'm all of that. So I thought I was fine. I was not fine. I was totally...
because your body, your nerve is not fine.
Yes. So I collapsed. I wanted to quit my job, nothing, just like be left alone. My company were amazing. They told me, no, go heal, forget about us, go heal. We really like want you to be okay. And I went on a 2-month journey I did everything, Hikmat. I did everything I could to not take those pills again, because my psychiatrist was like, you have to go back on the meds. And I was like, he told me some human beings, unfortunately, have to take those meds for the rest of their lives. And I wanted to prove him wrong. I was like, I'm going to do everything within my power, everything that can enable me to not take those meds. I started journaling 3 pages per day, exercising like crazy. I did creative courses, read a lot, therapy, traveled, put myself in situations that are outside my comfort zone to conquer my anxiety, because anxiety became so crippling towards the end. Like, it really took over my life. So I was like, I'm going to be in a crowded place. I'm going to put myself there. Like all sorts of experiences for those 2 months. And every day I started to start with something small. Like, okay, I'm going to go jog for 30 minutes, or I'm going to do that. Like building blocks. And bit by bit, I built this whole kind of system, around me, tools that I utilize, spiritual, body, mind, everything that I can tap into to maneuver my, mental illnesses. And it worked. It absolutely worked. And I love it because, yes, it took me, now it's been almost 6 months since that incident. I haven't had any anxiety, any panic attack. I didn't need any pill. I'm completely fine. Mind you, just so that some people need those meds. I'm not saying that I have something against them. But for me, I knew in my heart that I can make it happen. Like, even if this is genetic and whatever is said, blah, 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 I wanted to conquer this. Because honestly, Hikmat, for people who don't struggle with anxiety is this ugly beast that is in your head that is making everything so ugly. Like I would be sitting with my friends or my partner, and I would be like, oh my God, I shouldn't have said that. And oh my God, like maybe I'm being too annoying. And you start imagining things, or you start to think about things that are not happening. Like one of my parents passing away, samahalla, or something bad. Like you're always on this alert.
To build that,
and you're building this illusion in your mind, and then you're having a panic attack because of these thoughts. And for me, it's wild that thoughts could have so much power over you. Like, no, I'm generating those thoughts. I can control them. And sometimes now I see how it happens. You'll have a thought, like you'll worry about something or someone you love or whatever. That thought builds to another thought, and it goes and goes, and it becomes this cycle. And now, because I have the tools, I'm like, okay, back to reality. Everything is great. Everything is fine. Actually, this is not happening. It's your mind like wandering again. And I have the tools. Before, I didn't have them. And I love the day that I went to my psychiatrist, and I told him, I pushed the door and told him, I will never take those meds again. And I told him everything, and he was like so happy. And I was very happy. It's an achievement. And I see a lot of people struggling with this. I'm sure you have friends and loved ones who are struggling with this. And I think not a lot of people, I mean, this is why, going back to one of your guests who was saying that people are oversensitive now, and I got triggered by that. I really got triggered. I almost wanted to write something.
Now I know who you're talking. She's a girl.
Yes. And I was like, what do you know? What do you know about what happens to you when you're coming out of, trauma or mental illness or whatever? And a lot of people wrote to her. They told her, you're not a psychologist, you're not a psychiatrist, you can't be saying things like that. I tried to put myself in her shoes to understand what she's saying. I think she's talking about snowflakes, about people who are always offended by something, and something always triggers them.
She's talking about generation, isn't
yes,
it?
Our generation. Our generation has a lot of issues that didn't happen before, because simply our minds were not programmed, built to take in what we're experiencing today. I mean, we are overstimulated by everything. There's so much. You were just talking about the hustle culture. You have to stay, in our industry, you have to stay up to date, see what's trending, see what's happening. Your phone is ringing, but you have this meeting, but you're also seeing so much stimulants happen. Before, people were much calmer. I mean, not our parents, because we had the Civil War and they had a whole other
maybe the two generation before that.
They were much calmer, and it's like, a lot of people are struggling with it. It wasn't fair of her to say what she said.
I think if we it's like beauty standards.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is beautiful and what's not beautiful? It's about where do you draw the line, and what's the standard? So I think if you are judging a generation based on if they are lazy or they are not trying to be hard worker or weak or this, it's actually you're drawing the standard in a different place. Because my answer was like they might be smarter, because it doesn't mean, as we mentioned, that if you work 12 hours is smarter than working 8 hours or 5 hours or 6 hours, and maybe in the future 3 hours. You never know. Like with the AI and this new technology.
I love AI, and I know you're very passionate about it.
Yes, so we might, and I said we don't need to work to make a living. We need to work to to keep on to be happy and to give back to the community, but we don't need to work to pay money for our health issues and to education. It's something that has to be generated from the whole society, giving back to the whole people by the technology that we're creating. Why we're making this technology if it's not going to give us back?
Exactly.
And it's not going to lead us to a better life where we work less but we do something with our life,
something more meaningful.
Yes, exactly.
Something more meaningful.
We can do gym, we can go and meet each other. I mean, so you have to be active. I believe in working in a way. You have to be active. You have to read, you have to educate, you have to maybe pray, you have to swim, you have everything you have to do. You can't stay lazy. So I'm against laziness, but you don't need to be active, meaning that you have to work and bring money to
your mind.
Yes,
constantly operating. I mean, how beautiful is it when you do manual work with your hands? Have you noticed, or when you're moving your body, what your body does and how much it releases all this like toxins and like bad negative energy in your mind, and you just feel so calm and like you're able to operate. That stillness of the mind and movement of the body, I think, is very important for one's sanity. And I completely agree about laziness. And I wouldn't say our generation is lazy at any point, because honestly, like when you look at the wealth of information, you will always find something interesting to have a nice conversation to have with someone. People have a wealth of knowledge. Oh, I saw this study, I read this article, I saw this TikTok, and like there's always, at least this is my environment and the people I gravitate towards, and especially people from my generation. I mean, talk about parents from my generation. My friends are now having kids. Oh my God, the things they think about. Like I know someone who, how she calms her son, like doesn't yell or like do this, do that. It's like, your emotions are valid. I understand that you're very upset right now, but that's not how we channel our, being upset. And, we don't, hit or bite or whatever. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, I wish we had that.
I think I would have gotten a slap on my face, yes. Or like a big like shout out, like, there's this Arab thing where we have the, what do you call it? And what's the intimidation of it, or like doing this, and it's amazing. This wealth of knowledge where it's enabling our generation to become better parents for the future generation. I mean, that's amazing. That's something to look at. I think our generation gets a lot of hate in general. Millennials always got it. Now Gen Z are getting it a bit, and Gen Alpha came in. But for millennials, we're the first generation that embraces therapy, talks about mental health as if it's not something shameful. And mind you, there are still people who feel ashamed about it. We are proactive. We want to grow very fast. We're multifaceted. You will meet people who do multiple things. I mean, you'll see someone who is an engineer but also a DJ, or like people are allowing, we're the multi-hyphen kind of generation. And I think we don't get credit for that. We're the laziest. We are not the lazy. We are actually the most productive, but get paid the least in compared to previous generations. That's why most millennials can't afford to buy a house or whatever to invest. We're not lazy.
No, I think people mixed the idea of somebody will quit to somebody who doesn't want to work in this shit or this place, and they are actually trying to say their opinion and they don't want to be forced by the system. So this new generation is having more. They say no more to things. That's what made them, okay, they are lazy, they will quit, they will no, because they are trying to find what suits them better, because they are smarter and they want to work maybe less.
Yes.
and
Work less,
be
smarter, not
exactly, and do
harder.
something that you love.
Exactly. And Gen Z now is a whole different idea of
Yeah.
like that they're entering the workforce, and
Exactly,
they
work
have a
from
whole
home
other
and
idea.
this.
They have a whole other idea, and sometimes because us millennials were becoming like senior in our roles, and
Yeah.
we can see, and we're like, oh my god, okay, this is a whole different level, and they're much more opinionated and much more out there, and
Exactly.
they
So
want
you
to
can judge here. That's
Mm.
where the opinion comes. So how
Yeah.
do you also how do you not judge that? And I mean, I don't judge because I embrace that, and I say like
Mm.
that that's that I need to believe, because they listen. New generation will always prove that the old generation was a step behind. That's life, but we have to give them the opportunity,
Of course.
and and believe in their stories and their ideas, and
Mm.
give them the opportunity.
Definitely, I think you have to embrace it. I mean, I tell you, I work with Gen Z, and sometimes I'm really annoyed.
I see you're getting there.
Yes, sometimes I'm really annoyed because it's like they're very opinionated and they're very confident. I'll say this. I feel like the previous generations were more reserved when it comes to like how much we vocalize our thoughts. They don't care. They will say it like it is, and sometimes I'm like, no, 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 no. This is like no. Like I don't believe in hierarchy. I don't believe in having division, but it's like the approach in which they come towards it, and they're much more cutthroat, like just like that. Yeah, and also it's exhausting to keep up with their slang because there's something new every day,
Yes.
and their trends and what they like. But I always say this. Karl Lagerfeld was the creative director of 3 fashion houses till the age of 80, and a photographer and a director, and he did till the age of 80. And I always admired that. And he said that for him to keep going, always surround yourself with young people. And it's very true. So what I try to do is all these biases that I have because we're different generations, I try to submerge them, or like just like eliminate them, because I'm like, they have something to say that's really important. I want to listen. I want to understand what's resonating with them, what's impactful to them, because it's true. It's the younger generation that changes things. So suppressing them and pushing them aside and saying we are and they are, I don't want to be old as well.
Yes.
Like, this is very important for me because I have colleagues who are my age who are acting like khalas, the train is done, and when somebody who's Gen Z says something, yeah, they know, they're young. I'm like, you're young as well. Like, wait, what's happening? Like, calm down. You can stay young for a very long time. So I think it's very important to mesh with them the right way. They're very young, so they also need to learn. There needs to be more respect towards each other, but more collaboration. Because I remember when I entered the workforce, we were like hated. Like we wanted a game room. What is a game room? Like, you're here to work, or for example, taking a lunch break, or work-life balance, or the idea of working on something that makes me happy. People didn't just people didn't work on things to make them happy.
Yes.
You had a job for 35 years. You retire, you move on. That's it.
You die miserable.
This meaning and
yes,
finding a goal and changing companies every 2-3 years because it doesn't align with what you want anymore, and this job hopping and changes and opportunities of growth and all of that. I remember it was met with a lot of tension from
yeah, I mean, you said something great. I mean, this is how you can stay young, if you surround yourself with and if you want to stay like if you want to keep growing as a company or as a person, surround yourself with new generation. Believe in them. They don't have the experience as much, but they have the opportunities, and they are creative, and they have the potential. That's the main
and you have
thing.
to validate their experiences. I used to hate when I was younger and somebody told me, oh, when I was your age, or you still have a lot to learn. I don't do that.
You didn't tell me about your childhood, Tarek.
My childhood?
Yes.
I grew up in Beirut, and it was a very beautiful childhood in many ways. I mean, growing up in Beirut has its own set of things.
Defined. Beautiful. In Beirut.
I tell you, I have amazing parents. I think I'm very lucky that my parents always loved me as I am, for who I am. They never tried to really change me, and they fostered in me. I mean, my dad, always taught me and my brother to always look down, never up, to always look at the less fortunate, to be grateful, to be humble. My mom allowed us to be fabulous and experiment and utilize. My mom gives me my creative flair. Like, she influenced that a lot because she fostered that in me. I used to play with her makeup. Sometimes I would wear her dresses and run around, and she would laugh. I mean, I grew up in a household where it was okay for me to play with a Barbie, for example. This changes things. It's very important that my parents always allowed me to be who I am. And I think growing up in Beirut, for many people, I mean, I meet Lebanese people all around the world, and I'm always fascinated by the story. We come from a very small country, and we learn so much. We're so cultured. We're highly educated. We learn about the world from a very young age. And you meet Lebanese people, I'm sure you meet them all around the world. They all have a fascinating story, and they're so engaged. And when you take it back to where we come from, it's this tiny little city or country. You're like grateful for it. I mean, I really appreciate what Beirut has given me. I became a dreamer because of Beirut, and that's something I look fondly back on. And, whenever I see some things that remind me of my childhood in the 90s and, the moments I've had, I'm very grateful for that. But again, it mostly goes back to my parents. I think, how your parents raise you and the environment they give you. And mind you, my parents got divorced when I was 10 years old, which was very difficult on me and my brother. But they stayed very strong parents, and they still supported us, although they weren't together, and they gave us that thing. And I look at my relationship with my parents versus other friends I have with their parents, and I can see the difference. Like, my mom, for example, is my best friend. I call her to joke and laugh. My dad, I can have very candid conversations with him, and this for me was very important growing up, and instilled this warmth in me that people see. Like, it's coming from my parents. All these values that I have, all these thoughts that I have, my energy. My parents have always been like kind people, gift takers, always helping, always connecting, always trying to laugh. Like, I love how much my parents, believe in everything happens for a reason, and their outlook on life. And although they've went through a lot, I mean, I look at my parents not as my parents. I look at them as Ziyad and Muna. They're people. They have this life story. I would always like to turn my mom's life story into a film. She's also an empowered woman, and this is why maybe I'm very connected to women. Growing up, I used to be the kid that doesn't want to go play. I want to sit with my mom and be in the morning tea and coffee, and that is happening. Or I was a very quiet kid. I was more into, I mean, my parents used to get scared of me sometimes. I would come back from school. I would want to do homework. I would want to watch TV. I was a very quiet kid, mostly interested in drawing and painting and doing all of that. And they allowed me to be, and they fostered that. But my mom specifically, and the reason why I mention her even more, I'm very close to my mom.
Close to her. Yeah.
I grew up very close to her, and she sampled the image of what a strong woman is like. I mean, my mom, challenged things. She is a strong, independent woman, coming from a very conservative family, mind you, and being able to be stand on her own and do things as she wants and progress in life. And she is a strong woman like my mom, but yet she's so kind and so sweet, and is the best mom anybody could ever wish for. And I think having that experience with her built the kind of my understanding of the world. But same thing for my dad. My dad was as tough as they can get, but as sweet as they can get as well. My dad was always super sweet, always loving, always kind. We used to go more to my dad than my mom, to do things. And so I'm very grateful for them. They gave me the best childhood, I would say.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's great to hear.
Thank you.
I mean, I wanted to dig deep more on that part, but I mean, the power you're taking from your mom and your dad, and to say all these things, especially we don't always have to be lucky when or somebody's having parents who are divorced, but talking that much on both and in a beautiful way, and coming up with this energy and stories. That's amazing. That's
Thank you.
I'm sure you're hiding a lot, but
I'm what? I'm hiding a lot. I mean, listen, obviously, yes, my parents have their personalities. I have my personality. The thing about me is that I grew up in a house where I was allowed to express my opinion. This creates problems. Like, definitely creates problems because, like, they raised me this way, but then I would challenge them in things that were like, okay, no, like, this we did not expect. Like, I'll tell you something. When I got my first piercing, my dad told me, leave the house. I left the house for 3 months.
So you had your opinion and your ideas.
Yes,
Yeah,
like
okay.
it wasn't like without its challenges. I'm so lucky. I owe them everything because really, really, there's nothing like your parents loving you for who you are. They love me so much and I love them so much. And this is why we're so close, because when your parents unconditionally love you, what else do you have to worry about in this world?
Because this is the source of the place where you take the whole love and energy from. And if they don't love you, then
oh my God,
you start to hate yourself.
Yes, and I've seen it with other people. My parents went through a tough time. My parents, when they were married, towards the end of their marriage, they became very violent towards each other, constant yelling in the house. I mean, I was the kid that people go to, I'm so sorry your parents got divorced. I would tell them, thank God they got a divorce, like, because now we can, all be silent and all relax and all of that. And this is something that people don't understand about.
Yes, honestly, I mean, that's another topic. Marriage is really tough, a tough. Sometimes I say it's like a shop that's always losing. You have to always invest in it to keep it open. It's a tough, like شو بيقولوا?
It takes work.
Yeah,
it takes work.
The company, it's
Yes.
a tough union to create. It's not easy, but it's a must. Like I'm a divorced person, but I believe like the older you get. Okay, I mean, I've never believed in marriage. It's like, it's not going to work. I'm not going to stay with that person forever, Yes, but now I'm rethinking about it, Wallah, Tarek, I'm rethinking.
But you changed as well, no?
Yes, I mean, I changed a lot, but I'm believing in marriage now. Now, but like, do I have to get that wise on that age until I wish I was that wise when I was younger, because it's something that you have to keep on investing in it.
Yes,
it's not easy to hold a marriage. It's not easy to make a family. It's not easy. You need to keep investing, but on a belief that that's the most valuable thing in life.
Yes.
To stay married and to make because a family is very valuable. You will only know it until you reach one day and it's like, I should have invested. It's like how you invest in like your saving, and then when you find it at the end, it's the same way. It's like
absolutely, it's what gives meaning to life, in my opinion. Honestly, like having a good partner to grow with, and becoming a family, basically. I mean, come on, and especially if it's a balanced, healthy relationship. I mean, I always see this. You need to choose to love the person every day, regardless of the things that irritate you about them, because God knows there will be so many irritating things. But it's like you come to an acceptance. I love this person. The good is more than the bad. There are things that tick me that we can manage and talk about. I'm not perfect as well. It's the other way around. And we progressively work towards it. Relationship work is not like, when you use the word work, maybe work is not, the proper word to use, but it's a commitment. It's a commitment to grow together, to prosper together, to connect, to always be honest with each other. I see a lot of couples who suddenly explode because they've been bottling things up, or explode at every opportunity, and they don't know how to communicate with each other. I think that's the most toxic thing. My parents used to yell at each other. How are you going to communicate if you're yelling at someone? And I think it's important for people to know that if I choose you and we have this great foundation together, and we're always committed towards each other and working and processing things. And people go through things, and sometimes people grow apart simply because they didn't have that journey together. That could happen. That is something peaceful as well. It's not a problem. But there's nothing like going back home to someone you love, who knows you inside out, who cherishes you, who has your best interest at heart, who you can talk to about anything, who you can just hug and feel, safe and secure and happy. I think nothing is as good as that feeling. And it's very rewarding as well. I mean, when you have a support, I feel like we all have to have a support system to be able to grow in our careers, in our personal endeavors, in whatever, path we're taking. When you have that partner who's with you and, going with you, you grow exponentially bigger just because of that support.
Yeah, I mean, try to hold the sofa by yourself. You can't. You need a partner. It's always but what I wanna point out is the commitment is very important, and the idea that we had the chance, like, oh, you know what, just like I can change my mind. I can get married and change my mind. This is very risky and very dangerous. And I had this idea in my life. It's like, it's all right. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. I mean, no way. So that's why I like the Maruni marriage.
You're forced. There's nothing that could get you out of it.
You can't get out. I think we need that. The idea that I can divorce, yes, it's needed in a way, and the religion try to keep as like it's the worst thing ever, but you can do it, but it's the worst thing ever. But we need more push for that. We need to cherish, we need to value
or don't get married.
Exactly.
Like,
or take your time and think about it, and just like had the therapy before, had like a lot of testing.
Absolutely.
Like how we go to a company, we put the CV and we put like we need more restrictions. Until we reach to that point, because once you're in, you need to be committed.
And wherever life takes you, but it is a commitment, I think. And it came with our generation more, the whole divorce thing. I mean, I have an uncle who got divorced. Yeah, it's like he got divorced.
In my generation, like it's a lot of friends are divorced. Like, why? Like my generation and then the generation after, I don't know.
And for me, what breaks my heart the most is the ones who are having kids and they get divorced, but when the kid is like a year old. Oh my God, this really breaks my heart. I mean, when my parents got divorced, I was 10 years old. And so I could comprehend the concept of divorce, but you really have to be conscious. Some people get so excited about the concept of getting married, like, and the wedding and like being married to someone, and then they live together. That's also the concept of cohabitation. I think people should live together before they get married. It's so important. You get to know someone when you live with them, really who they are. Let's do that as the trial test.
Yes. I mean, you're absolutely right. You're 100% right.
Yeah.
Whoever is against it, I don't care. But this is exactly what happened with me. And this is exactly why I failed in my marriage. Because, I mean, I was like always like with that idea. And with the idea, I need to know the person. But, you get tricked and you get like emotionally kind of like, the idea of marriage. And then you don't.
And the cultural nuances.
And the culture,
The aib of like a cohabitation between a man and a woman before marriage. No.
Take your time.
Take your time. Do it. I mean, I also get it. I have girlfriends who, their biological clock is ticking. I need to get married. I want to have kids. I want to do that. I get those nuances. But what's the point of having a kid if you're going to get divorced in 2 years? You know what I mean?
Yes.
So no, trial before, because you really know someone when you live with them. I mean, you just said you experienced that with your first marriage, and it's shocking, isn't it? How well you get to know someone when you live with them for like an extended period of time. And I think if everybody did that, they would know. And that's your answer. And then you say, we can do this for the long run. We can survive this, or we can't. This is not a person that I can see myself growing up with. And then you move on and hopefully find that right partner.
Yes, I'm sure a lot of people have many different opinion on this. Tarek, Anna, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I love talking to you. You're an amazing person outside the podcast. I know you very well, and we work together. You're such an amazing person. Don't get burned out again.
I won't.
Yes, because you're giving a lot, and you're always supporting. Did the people, last question, does people change the way they felt about you when you came back and stronger? Are they needy?
No.
Are they like, hey, you changed?
They're very vocal. I would say, your energy, Tarek, your energy, you're amazing, you're glowing.
But you were always like
giving. Oh no, now I'm selfish with my time and my giving. I protect myself first, and then I can give. My cup has to overflow for me to give you. I do love to give people, but no, not more than giving myself.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Always will be your number one fan, and I really, really enjoyed our chat.
Thanks, Habibi. It's a pleasure for me.